Thank you for joining us on this very special edition of Life Notes. Today I'm joined by Dr. Shafiq Khan, who's the Director for the Center for Cancer Research and Therapeutic Development here at Clark Atlanta University, as well as Ambassador Andrew Young. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us today. Dr. Khan, so before we get into the dialogue, can you tell us a little bit about CCRTD and some of the research that you are currently doing?
Yeah, let me thank first the ambassador. I'm always honored to share the stage with him, and thank you for joining us today for this very special program. The Center for Cancer Research and Therapeutic Development, Clark Atlanta, actually focuses 100% on the issue of prostate cancer and its impact in the African American community. What we do is very basic research. We train a whole lot of young scientists, and we also have a very active community outreach program at the center.
And we were talking earlier, CAU and your department are setting a precedence among the cancer research community in the area of prostate cancer.
Yes, I think that we are very happy to say that we're one of the largest prostate cancer research centers in the country. And it's especially important because we are at an HBCU and we focus on the African American male.
And that's very critical. And Ambassador Young is going to be sharing a little bit about his cancer journey, prostate cancer journey. But before we do that, talk to us a little bit, Dr. Khan, about why African American men are so much, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh. I apologize. Can we just start with that question?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Top of that question. Mm-hmm. And your angle. Remember to look with your eyes, not necessarily with your
Okay.
5, 3, 2, 1.
Dr. Khan, can you talk to us about why African American men are at a greater risk of developing prostate cancer?
We really don't know the real reasons, but what we know is that the African American men have a much higher incidence. That's about 70% compared to the Caucasian men, and also a much higher mortality rate due to this disease. Now, there are some biological reasons for that, and we're trying to figure out what they are. There may be some genetic reasons, but a whole lot of socioeconomic, dietary reasons, and how people live and what they eat. I think that there's a whole lot of factors which come together and create this problem in the community.
I mean, I look at it economically and politically. We have so few avenues to express our manhood that we tend to overdo it with women. I say to young men at the Y all the time, I said, look, we don't need players. See, we don't need dogs that are going after everything in heat in the community. We need fathers. We need lovers. We don't need players. Fathers create families. They have relationships that pass on wisdom and wealth. And when I said this, all the kids started laughing, and they started laughing at one young man. I said, why you want to pick on him? He said, he already got 4 kids. I said, how old are you, son? 17. Now that's, I mean, that is a sickness. That is not sex.
And so, Ambassador Young, if you could tell us about
and it's certainly not love.
Certainly. If you can tell us a little bit about your prostate cancer experience. When were you diagnosed?
Well, I was married happily for 40 years and had a wonderful sex life for all 40 of those years. And then my wife died of liver cancer. And so I began to be very conscious because she never smoked, she never drank, she exercised all the time. But the one thing she didn't do was drink water because she was a teacher and she didn't like to leave the kids to go to the bathroom. So she'd go all day without drinking water. And that was clearly, I think, one of the contributing factors to her development of liver cancer. Your body requires water for whatever ails you. You're 70% water. And if you don't replenish that, and you might say that That's one of the unseen factors. Because we're brown and black and stay in the sun, our skin is more oily. We evaporate to keep from burning. And so we're losing more water than white people. And so we have to drink more water, but most of us don't. We might drink coffee, we might drink Coca-Cola, we might drink beer. And of course in Africa, I drink beer because the beer is cleaner than the water. I've never been to a brewery that wasn't spotless. See, and you can never be sure in some countries about the water, but but you have to take regular quantities of as pure a liquid as you can find.
So water is critical.
Water is critical.
So talk to us a little bit more about when you were diagnosed and what treatment did you pursue?
Well, I was diagnosed because I read a book. I was going to South Africa and Bishop Tutu was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He and I about the same age. And I think at that time I was about 62, 63. And I read the book on the way, and one of the things that it was a medical textbook. It says that at some point, every human being will develop prostate cancer. It's not life-threatening, but it needs to be monitored. So the first thing you need to start doing is having some kind of PSA test. And I think PSA stands for prostate-specific antigens.
Yes.
And your body has a way of saying to you, if cancer is growing, or if your body is strengthening itself to fight the cancer, it'll show it in these organs. So that, I think they just tip. They used to have to draw it from your blood, but I think they can almost do a PSA from just a fingerprint now.
Yeah, I think that they're becoming very sensitive now, yes. But you still need your blood, yes.
Yeah, but you can tell your body is the best indicator. Now, once you get your PSA, like my PSA was 1.5, no problem. Then all of a sudden, it spikes to 4. See,
Yeah.
well, that's an indicator that something's happening. See.
And so tell us a little bit more about what were some of the symptoms you experienced?
Well, the symptoms you experience are having to, if you get up more than twice a night to urinate, and ironically, I found that the more water I drank, the less I got up. And you try not to drink water, but your body has to produce water. But I found that if I drank a whole lot of water around 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and then had a complete, urination before going to bed, I was less likely to wake up. See? So most people, if they have to wake up in the night, they drink less water. Well, that contributes to the, so I started drinking more water. See? But I got married again. And one of these Clark University, women, who was considerably younger. And so I had something to prove, maybe. I didn't really, but but anyway, I was having more sexual activity than most 60-year-olds, 65-year-olds. See? And she was the one that began to see friends, and of course most of the friends that we had then who were having prostate surgery were white. But then we also had some of the people in the civil rights movement, and it's almost like, well, it's like there was a period when anytime a woman went to the doctor, they gave her a hysterectomy, whether she needed it or not. And I frankly think that that's what men got caught in, that this was the flavor of the month in the hospital. Now, I went on and had my prostate removed, I think, when I was 67. And the reason I did that was I did not want to undergo ether after 70, after 70. And because I can bear pain and I can, absorb sickness, but I was afraid of the effects of ether on the mind after you get a certain age. And so when your mind goes, then you're inflicting pain on others. And I said, I didn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. I'd rather go ahead and get this over with. And in all of my reading, you could take seeds. They can have seeds that they can implant, and then they radiate specifically in the prostate. And that's been very successful for a lot of people. I didn't know, I don't like radiation. And because my wife died of cancer of the liver and I saw her suffer through 3 years of chemotherapy, I didn't want any chemotherapy. And I said, I talked to one of my surgeon friends who happened to be the president of the American Cancer Association at the time. He says, look, the best thing to do is just cut it out and get rid of it. So I said, what the hell?
Mm-hmm. and you've been cancer-free ever since?
I've been cancer-free, and I've had, well, actually, I think 2 days after I got out of the hospital, I stood up and made a speech.
2 days later, you were up and you were delivering a speech. Many times when life happens, it happens to the extent that it stops, but you allowed life to roll on.
Well, I was determined that I knew. The other thing is, though, when they removed my prostate, I asked them, see, I got the operation because the prostate PSA went from 1 to 4 and then to 6. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, then you have to have a biopsy. Well, you're almost always going to find some cancer if you're 60 years old with a biopsy. When I finished after the operation, I asked them exactly how cancerous was my prostate. And they said they divide the prostate into 6 sections, and I maybe had 10% malignancy in one section and 5% in another, which means I probably could have lived another 25 years without that if I had take my water, get my exercise, watch my diet. In fact, out at the Charles Drew Hospital in California, they said to me when they heard I was about to be operated on, they said, if you can come out here and give us 6 weeks, we can cure your prostate trouble with diet and exercise and you not have to have an operation. But I couldn't afford to go way out there and stay 6 weeks.
Well, I think you took the right decision because, I mean, the prostate cancer is very slow-growing cancer, but as long as it stays within the prostate, it's not that bad, but you never know when it becomes malignant and moves out, and then it's very hard to treat. So
well,
I think you did the right,
yeah,
you took
well, that's the reason I had it cut out, because the other thing I did that I think contributed to it, I was riding my bicycle a lot then. In fact, I think 3 times I rode in the bicycle right across Georgia, starting up North Georgia and riding all the way down to Savannah thing. And that bicycle seat, I think, is pressing directly against the prostate. and it is bound to continue to create some inflation. So they now make a bicycle seat that for men that has instead of being just a saddle, it has a section in it so that it is not pressing on your prostate. So if you're going to be a bicycle rider, I would think investing in one of those seats that doesn't press directly against your scrotum is a good investment.
And so that's preventive care.
Again, preventive.
Dr. Khan, we were talking earlier about proton therapy. Can you talk to us a little bit about that specific research?
Well, proton is a special kind of radiation. I think the best part of proton therapy is that it has much less side effects, like it doesn't affect the neighboring tissue. Most of the radiation when you give to the patient, it goes to the cancer, but then it passes through your body and it can do damage. The proton therapy actually doesn't do that. It goes to the cancer and comes back.
Okay.
I've had friends who have undergone proton therapy, and but they could afford it, and it used to mean going out to California. Now Emory and pretty soon Hampton University has a proton therapy clinic, but it simply amounted to you didn't have to take off your clothes. You stretch out on a thing and they zap you for 30 seconds, you get up and go on about your business.
Yeah, it's very, it doesn't have a whole lot of side effects, so you can go there in the morning, get it done and go to work. So it's pretty easy on your body, but it's expensive. It's very expensive.
So from what I'm understanding, if the cancer is detected and treated early, you can have a quality of life that's normal.
Ambassador is
Yeah,
example
no, you
of
can.
that.
and it doesn't mean you have to, well, in this big book I read, the chapter that I should have paid the most attention to was that a legitimate form of treatment is called watching and waiting. Now when you do that, you really should have a PSA at least once a month and be very careful. And as long as you're watching it, the danger is for it to flare up for some reason, get outside the prostate, and then unfortunately you're dead.
Yeah, so
it'll probably get in the lymph nodes and go somewhere else. And
yeah, watchful waiting is one way of treating it, but yeah, there is a risk involved in that.
Yeah.
And if it somehow becomes metastatic, what we call, if it leaves prostate and starts moving in other tissues, then it becomes very hard to treat. And most of the mortality or death due to prostate cancer is because of that metastatic disease. Because once you get to that stage, then you know that you probably will die of the disease. You just don't know how long it will take. So I think that it's when it is still in the prostate, that's when you should take care of it, whether radiation or surgery, whatever is feasible at that time.
So Dr. Khan and Ambassador Young, for our viewers that are watching, our male viewers specifically, what are some things they need to know right now, particularly as it relates to getting tested, getting your annual exams? Because a lot of times men, you know, and women alike, but men, that's a sensitive test and a sensitive conversation.
Well, from my perspective, the scientific perspective, I would say that, you know, the cancer can develop at any time in your life, and even when you are otherwise very healthy. And also, sometimes the prostate cancer is developing, but you don't have any symptoms. So the best thing for African American males is that after the age of 40, they should, every year, they should check their PSAs and get the prostate checked and get it screened. And if they catch up early, then as we just discussed, it's 100% curable. So I think that's my advice to young African Americans, is to take care of their prostate and health and check it every year.
And Ambassador Young?
Yeah, I'd say drink a lot of water, eat a lot of greens, and vegetables, and I drink vegetable juices. And I think one of the best investments I ever made was one of these little magic juice bullets or something where you can put all your vegetables in one thing and make a vegetable cocktail to your taste every day or so. And using that to miss a meal, one, you're getting everything you put on a plate and put it in there and blend it. It is also a good way to control the fat cells in your body. Because I think that there is, though I don't know, but there is a correlation between cancer and grease.
Obesity is
Obesity.
one of the risk factors for prostate cancer. Not just for prostate cancer, but many other cancers as well.
And Dr. Khan, I'm glad you mentioned that. And Ambassador Young, what are some other risk factors associated with this disease?
But scientifically speaking, the age and the race and the family history, and the diet. So if you have had a family member then who has, if your father, your uncle, your brothers, if they have been diagnosed, then I think that you are at a higher risk. But also, as Ambassador mentioned, if you live long enough, you probably are going to get prostate. So
but my father lived to 85, and he didn't die of prostate cancer. My father-in-law lived to 90, and he never set foot in a hospital. But he drank a lot of water. He worked hard every day, and you have to be conscious of your lifestyle. If you smoked, if you drank a lot, you're more likely to have contaminants in your body that become cancerous.
And of course, in all things, prevention to the degree that you can prevent is key. And getting your annual exams and knowing your family history, those pieces are critical. Dr. Khan, Ambassador Young, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your scientific knowledge and your firsthand experience with prostate cancer.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on this episode of Life Notes. We hope you've been inspired and informed. And if there are any questions you have about cancers, please contact the Center for Cancer Research and Therapeutic Development. They'll be happy to give you the information you need. And we look forward to seeing you next time on Life Notes.
Hi, I'm Makad Brooks. I play wide receiver Terrence King on USA Network's Necessary Roughness. Let's talk about a game that you don't want to play. African-American men have the highest incidence rate of prostate cancer, 65% higher than white men. Even worse, we have the lowest survival rate. In fact, we are 2 to 3 times more likely to die of the disease than most Americans. It's time to go on the defensive. See your doctor. Schedule your PSA screening and your prostate exam. It could save your life, save my dad's. And that's exactly what the researchers at Clark Atlanta University's Center for Cancer Research and Therapeutic Development are working to do daily. Now it's time for you to join the team. Get it done.